Hello and welcome. This is Sean, one half of Sean and Kiara, and I'm going to sit here and watch this video I just made of myself drawing, and I'm going to talk over it instead of playing music like I often do. So what I'm drawing here is a strip called the Flying Duchess. And this is a comic that I ran for 4 issues of my self-published comic Wunderkammer years ago. And it was sort of a serialized thing. And I'm reviving it and sort of redoing it as kind of a comic strip style, sort of newspaper comic strip style. So as if it were daily installments, daily strips. And I'm kind of rethinking the look of it a little bit. And I'm not picking up where I left the story off with the last issue of Wunderkammer, which was kind of a cliffhanger. But I'm taking the characters and starting a new storyline with them. And this first panel here, I'm actually redoing the first strip that I drew a little while ago, and I decided that I didn't like how it looked, so I'm redrawing it. And I lightboxed the first panel is almost exactly the same as you can see a little bit of it above the first attempt, and I made a few minor changes. But this first panel is actually a swipe. I took it from an old Mickey Mouse cartoon. So the poses are based on a panel of Mickey Mouse talking to Clara the cow. And I was trying to get the feel of those old newspaper strips, a more cartoony kind of feel. And so I decided to do a swipe for the poses. And the second panel that you will see as I start light boxing it in is I think it's also taken from that same strip. So I've got 2 swipes here. And the characters that you see there, so the one I'm drawing now, her name is Artie. Her full name is Artemisia Anakalopoulos Sims, and she's talking to the main character of the strip, whose name is Jane Vanterpool, the other one on the other couch. And so Jane is so it's a sci-fi strip, and she's a pilot and a mechanic, and I think she was kind of inspired or based on Maggie the mechanic from Love and Rockets, and so she was the main character of this story, and actually this story goes back a long ways. Some characters and elements of the story go back to ideas that I had way back. I think I was still a teenager in the 80s. I began sort of working on some of these characters and ideas for the story. And some of them survived. And I made an attempt to put them into a comic story in the 90s, I believe, late 90s. Never really got past the first 10 pages or so. And then I revived the character of Jane and decided to have another go at it, and I serialized the story through 4 issues of my comic Wunderkammer. And so now I'm bringing her back again. And originally she was part of a duo, Jane was. And she was kind of this version of Jane, at least. She went through a few different versions so far as her look. This current version of her that I kind of settled on was inspired a bit by Dennis the Menace. So in the cartoony style, and even her hair, the sort of blonde, messy mop that she has with the bangs in the front, and she would have kind of like, um, you know, sort of stray locks sticking up in the back. I've given her a little bit different of a hairdo now. And she was originally part of a duo, as I said. Her partner, her partner was another pilot named Astris Argentina, and you'll see her coming up as I start the second strip. So this third panel of the first strip, I'm completely redoing, or I'm drawing it from scratch. And this first strip, basically, she's meeting up with her friend Artie. They were former work colleagues and old friends, schoolmates. And Artie is asking her what's been happening to her over these last few years. She hasn't seen her in a long while. She's very excited to see her again, and she wants to know what she's been up to because she knows that Jane has all sorts of adventures. And so Jane in this last panel sort of says, well, if you want to know, it's a long story. And that sets us up for the second panel. So the idea of doing this comic strip style rather than comic book style is that each strip then ends in a little bit of a cliffhanger. That's the challenge in writing, in serializing a story this way, is you only have 3 or 4 panels to get your little bit of a story in for each installment. And the end has to, well, it doesn't have to, but the idea is that you have you leave the question hanging for the reader to come back and find out, the next day or the next week or whatever, how the story continues. So that's why when they're collected together in book form, they don't read that well. They're not as enjoyable a read, but they kind of, it's sort of a fun way to write a story and a challenging way to write a story to keep it moving like that. And if you don't have the story thought out completely too far in advance, then you got to figure out how to continue it, how to bring it into the next thing. So here we see I'm using an Artograph light pad. Is the light pad that I use to light box my drawings. The way I draw is first I do the first pencil sketch on sketch paper, and that gives me a chance to really play around with it until I get it right. And you end up with lots of pencil smudges and eraser smudges and so forth. And then once I've got it right, then I light box that drawing onto the Bristol board, and I do a clean pencil drawing that I can ink over top of. So here's the second strip, and Jane has begun her story. And she's going to begin by telling what has happened to her and Astros at the beginning of this adventure where they find themselves. And this is another swipe. So, and these first panels were taken from sketches in my sketchbook, but I liked them so much that I decided that I would use them to start the strip. But this is another swipe from, this time from a Wash Tubbs comic strip. And again, I was trying to channel these old comic strips. I've been always trying to make my drawing style more cartoony. It sort of it tends to veer in the direction of more naturalistic looking characters, and I wanted to get into the more larger head to the head body ratio, make them more cartoonish, more elastic looking limbs, as you see here in this panel of Jane. Astris is much more naturalistic looking. She's more of a this drawing of her. It looks like more of an Hergé style character. And I'm changing her hair back to the way I originally drew her, where her hair was pulled back into sort of a puffy bun rather than the afro that I gave her in the sketch. And another thing about Astrus is her outfit, which is how I used to draw her. She's wearing a blue sailor turtleneck. It would have an anchor on the front and black pants. And this is basically Captain Haddock's costume, or his outfit from the Tintin books. For some reason, back then I decided that this was going to be her costume. Was his blue turtleneck and his black pants. Give her like a sailor's outfit. And they're, like I said, they're spaceship pilots anyway. So, and the story is, it's not hard sci-fi. It's very space opera kind of sci-fi. The the science of the sci-fi is not very thought out. It's just meant to give it a fantastical setting, and it's meant to be just sort of escapist adventure, cliffhanger adventure, So we're getting towards the end here. And the next video, maybe, I'll be inking these two strips. When I've traced the first pencil sketch onto the Bristol board, I leave out a lot of stuff. A lot of times I'll put in background later, directly onto the Bristol board if I don't have it thought out beforehand. And make other changes. Add the word balloons, like right here. And here we're almost done. So thank you, and please consider hitting the like button or the subscribe button, and please visit our Patreon site, where you can check out some of the other things that Kiara and I do. And please consider becoming a member. See you next time.